Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so happy to tune in today. Today, we are doing an up close and personal segment with our very own special guest, Leslie Pender. And I thank you so much, Leslie, for taking time out of your schedule to share your journey, your personal testimonial, and just to be transparent with us all, because I know what you have to share is going to resonate with everybody. So I thank you for taking time out.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And so today we're going to have some real conversation. We're going to talk about some stuff that we all can relate to, especially as women. And it's about making ourselves a priority. And as women, we are caregivers, we are wives, we are mothers, we're career oriented. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, that is a career. And in the midst of having that S on our chest, we lose sight of caring for ourselves, and we feel guilty incorporating self-care into our lives. We feel guilt. But what does that mean? We hear the term self-care, but what does that really mean? So that's such as some examples: getting adequate rest every night, not only when we crash and burn, but every night. Getting regular exercise, staying hydrated properly, eating balanced, adequate, not restricting, cutting carbs, cutting calories, and a big one, making time for doing the things that we enjoy doing. Because a lot of times we're just so exhausted that we just don't have the time, we don't have the energy. We just feel like, what's the point? What's the point? And we feel like it's normal. We feel like this is the way it's supposed to be because of the phase we're in our lives. And so I know many, many listeners can relate to this topic that we're going to focus on today. And we're going to focus on how Leslie finally boosted her energy levels, gained control over her stress eating, and ended years of insomnia by prioritizing her mental and physical health, despite the feelings of guilt for taking time to take care of herself. So she's not alone, right? She is so not alone. So simply replace your name with Leslie. And many of us has made these similar comments. So, resonate, chime in, raise your hand, say, this is me, post in the comments, this is me. If you've ever said to yourself, I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to sleep. I don't have time I got to stay up late. I got to finish this assignment, or I got to get stuff done around the house. I can't leave things undone. Waking up feeling sluggish, and then you're tired all day, but you push through it. You push through it because, you got things to do. We can't stop. Craving sweets, emotionally eating, out of sheer stress and just sometimes out of just overwhelm. So if any of that relates to you, just simply raise your hand. And so throughout this, I know, right? Me too. Throughout this segment, throughout this conversation, definitely feel free to post any comments, any questions that you may have. I'm going to listen. I'm going to read the thread. And if I cannot answer it, then I will follow up with Leslie and get the answers for you, but definitely comment and tune in. And so without further ado, we are going to hear from Leslie herself. And we're going to start off by asking, tell the viewers, what is your line of work? What do you do for a living?
Oh, that's interesting. And especially since it's self-care. I am a licensed mental health counselor in Central Florida. So self-care is definitely something that I discuss a great deal with my clients, because it is a huge part of your emotional and mental well-being. Now, with that being said, as I was listening to the introduction, that guilt piece, especially for women, is huge. And that's something that I continue to, even now, as you know, that I still struggle with, is that taking that time to pour into myself so that I am present for what I need to do in my life and for others.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's sometimes what we do, we're the worst offenders, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
The doctors aren't the healthiest, the nails aren't done, the hairstylist
exactly.
Done.
Exactly. We do it well for others, but when it comes to our own taking care of ourselves, it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge.
It's a challenge, absolutely. And so let's talk about the backstory for you. So what are some of your most pressing health concerns?
20 years ago, after neglecting to go to the doctor, I make sure my son, he made all his appointments when he was young, but I had kind of put my health on the back burner. But 20 years ago, I found out and was diagnosed with lupus. So that was not too shortly after my 30th birthday. So that has been my hugest challenge. And what I've learned over the 20 years is that stress really exacerbates the symptoms that I experience. And as I continue to go through this journey, I realized how I dealt with my stress was comfort foods. My parents are from the South, so I grew up on good Southern cooking. We ate at everything, birthdays, celebrations, funerals. So food was satisfied every emotion. And so I will often, in my management of stress, would turn to food. And on that, I didn't exercise. So I was eating and being comforted by food, but I wasn't engaging in exercise, which, you know, the baby weight continued to add over the years. And so at one point, it was like, okay, the weight is now exasperating. Not only is the stress exasperating my health concerns, the weight was starting to exasperate my health concerns, because with that, joint pain, inflammation was present. And so the more weight I gained, the more stress I was putting on my knees, on my ankles, my lower back. So I woke up one morning and said, something has to give. Along with my doctor saying something has to give, I had that epiphany that something had to give, because if I didn't stop, then I was going to continue to add additional, issues such as potentially becoming diabetic, because diabetes, there is that genetic marker in my family. High blood pressure runs in my family. High cholesterol runs in my family. So if I did not address my eating, I knew that in addition to the lupus, I was going to continue to add additional health concerns that are easily manageable and preventable if I took control of how I was treating my body from a nutrition perspective.
Okay. And 30, that's young. That's young. Okay. And did the doctor, was there any known cause? Did that ever come up?
I do know that there is a history, because lupus is the autoimmune disorder. So this is big umbrella disorder. Rheumatoid arthritis falls under the umbrella of autoimmune disorders. Fibromyalgia, all these different autoimmune disorders fall under this big umbrella. A cousin of mine suffered from rheumatoid arthritis. I am the only one that I'm aware of, because lupus is relatively hard to detect if you really don't know what you're looking for, because it can mask itself as a lot of different things. It very well could be something genetic within the family.
Yes.
So I am the only one that I am aware of in my family that deals with the autoimmune disorder of lupus. Okay. But there are other autoimmune disorder that some family members do deal with. But for me, lupus, I'm the only one.
Okay. And then over the course of these 20 years, was it varied with often did you deal with the joint pain and the effects and the inflammation, or
the very first years post-diagnosis, probably the hardest, because I was on a medicine regimen that oftentimes the side effects of the medication were worse than actual symptoms. So I dealt a lot with the joint pain. I dealt a lot with the fatigue. The fatigue is very huge, and it's still prevalent today. Not as much as it was back then, because back then I didn't really know how to manage the symptoms. But with that, the joint pain would get to a point where I just couldn't move. And having a young child at the time, it was a struggle to push myself to kind of not concern him. I would push myself, which again, kind of that learned behavior of pushing through and not resting well. I think that kind of solidified it to a degree that, okay, I gotta push. No matter how I'm feeling, I gotta push. And I think this journey has really helped me to learn to listen to my body. Especially as it relates to food. I learned a lot about what foods cause inflammation in this journey. Now that I always abide by that, nope.
It's
I'll be honest.
it's not 100%, right? But the good outweighs the not so good days.
Exactly.
That's all.
So, and that's one thing I've learned, we talk about nuggets along the way. Something you said to me a couple of weeks ago that if your body is on ready, you don't have to get ready. And that was in in relation to hydration. And that's another piece. I learned a lot over this journey as it relates to my journey in lupus, what works well for my body, and especially from a nutritional perspective.
Yeah.
So it has been a learning lesson. I'm still learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always stuff to learn. And you touched on so many things, because one of the main points I want to drive home is weight loss is not about weight loss. It's not just about weight loss. I mean, it's that self-care piece, that mindset, the hydration, the sleep, the just feeling good about yourself, having a positive mindset. All of that feeds into your choices, your desire to even want to be on the journey to want to lose weight and stay on track. And so it's so many little pieces. And then once that's on board, life is a lot easier. And so share with me, and you've come such a long way. So I applaud you, because it's one of the things that Leslie learned in this journey. She just didn't realize or understand even why she wasn't, why she wasn't caring for herself. It was just, it's a journey for all of us. And sometimes we have to really think about it. And so for you, when did the actual weight loss journey part of it begin? I mean, we know we're dealing with the pain on this side, but when did you actually say, okay, let me try to address this weight?
I think initially the concentrated effort probably started about 10 years ago.
Okay.
To really decide to say, okay, so 2011, 2012. It was right after I got married. Now I'm transitioning into, being a wife, and a military wife at that. So there's that additional level of stress. That's a different lane. And so, managing that, still working, having a child, in high school who's adjusting to, now living on base. And so it was, although we didn't move far from where we were, it still was an adjustment.
Right.
So I realized that I wasn't sleeping well, sluggish, a little bit. By that time, the lupus symptoms have kind of gone into what my rheumatologist was more of a remission state.
Okay, good.
So I was like, okay, something is going on. Why am I still being, dealing with this fatigue? And I realized, okay, maybe it's the extra weight that you're carrying. So I've done Jenny Craig, I've done Weight Watchers, and consistent for a bit, then I'll fall off. Consistent for a bit, then I'll fall off. And
why do you think you fell off?
That struggle, again, you said that mindset. I think the mindset, looking at it from a perspective of not only was I losing weight, it's a lifestyle change. It's about encompassing holistically your health. So it, like you said, it's more than just, watching what you eat. It's how are you moving your body? How are you managing your stress? Are you staying hydrated? And it is a lot of wheels. And you kind of think of the inner workings of a clock. It's a lot of ticking things going on to make that clock continue to spin in the right direction. And so it has been 10 years of kind of figuring out what works best for me.
Okay. And how much did you lose on you said Jenny Craig, you said Weight Watchers, like?
On average, it might have been like 15 to 20 pounds, but then I would gain it back and it would bring friends. So, I would lose the 20 and then I would gain 25, 30 back. And so it's like, okay, what is going on? So it has been a learning. I look at my life as I'm in the lab. Like, what works best? What is the best formula for my lifestyle
Mm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to be healthy.
Right.
Because like you said, it's more than just weight loss. It's really about being holistically healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
like you said, encompasses sleep, hydration, because this, woo, me and water, or just any liquid, just being hydrated, period.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it has been challenging. It's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah. 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 What was your relationship with water? Let's talk about that since you brought it up. Yeah.
I know I need it.
It's as Sandra said, I'm drinking it because Sandra said.
Yes, I
Okay,
know I need it.
I take
But
it.
I think also too, something that you said too, again, those learned behaviors, often thought of hydration as just water only.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not just water, it's that 100%, having that 100% juice,
Mm-hmm.
having that glass of milk, um,
Your coffee and tea, if it's
your
not
coffee,
loaded
your
with sugar and
tea.
cream.
Yeah,
It'll-
exactly. Well,
yeah.
yeah, minus the
Yeah.
ton of sugar and cream I used to put in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, is again changing the mindset of how you viewed
Yeah.
food. And I think the hugest thing for me, because we moved from Virginia to Florida in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with a doctor who will always say, Leslie, food is your medicine. And here
Amen.
again,
That's right.
and that's the same message that you're telling me.
That's right.
Food is medicine. You
It
don't
is.
have to, if you're, yes, you can have your multivitamin, yes, but
Right.
you should really be getting a lot of your nutrients from
Mm-hmm.
the food you eat. Um, and
Yeah.
something my brother-in-law, who's a doctor, will also say too, he said, Leslie, I would rather you pay the farmer than pay the doctor.
Yes. And so let me touch on that. Yes. I like to say supplements are just that. They supplement, they accompany your food,
Mhm.
not replace. Not, I mean, I know people who are on like 12, 13, like different supplements, like individual different supplements. And I'm like, no, you get all this from food. We have 5 food groups. You hear me talk a lot about the 5 food groups, right? I take you
Mhm.
back to elementary school. So we have 5 food groups for a reason. They all provide different nutrients for the body, and then the different foods within the food groups provide different nutrients for the body. So just having oatmeal for breakfast every day is not going to give you all the nutrients. Just having only chicken is not going to give you all your nutrients. You got to have that variety and that balance within your needs for
Mhm.
survival, number one, survival, and for weight loss, if that's your weight, those are where you at with your goals, or weight maintenance, all that's different, but you have to have the right amount of calories in order for your body to hum, for it to be its
Mhm.
best. I call it stepping into your highest level of health. And that's really what it's all about. And so food is medicine. It is your number one supplement. And then we add a regular multivitamin. You don't need mega this, mega that. You don't need, just a regular. And so that's good. And I think when you started experiencing that, share some of the differences you felt in your body, maybe those first couple of weeks, if you can think about it, when we went one-on-one, changes in your body.
Um, First and foremost, it helped the mindset. The body thing was huge. Energy level. And so if you can do the math, I said I've been dealing with this for 20 years when I turned 30. So I'm 50. So I'm at an age where body's doing some things differently. Hot flashes are very real. And so when I started our 101, I noticed the energy first and foremost, that kind of boosts the energy, but then also too, the mind shift, the paradigm shift, because Sandra, she's kind, she looks kind, y'all, but she can be a gentle bully.
Oh my. I don't
When
know
it
what she's
comes to
talking about.
self-care, because she put me on this 2-hour, Leslie, remember, breakfast needs to be had be 2 hours within the 2-hour window of you waking up. So this is what I want you to do. That was part of what was assigned to me.
Hey, that was good homework.
It was good homework. It was, because it did force me to be intentional about sitting still and pouring into myself and giving myself that time. to fuel my body. That's another thing that I learned. I don't feed my body anymore. I fuel
Yes.
my body.
Yes.
And that was a huge shift too in that thinking. But I think the biggest thing, yeah, there was the body, energy level, sleep, increase in restful sleep, because oftentimes I thought of insomnia as, you're not sleeping at all.
Mhm.
No, it's that sleeping, but not really
Right.
feeling rested.
Right. Right.
And I have struggled with that. Now I'm intentional about my sleep, because I know sleep is important as it relates to that lifestyle change and
Mhm.
losing the weight.
Yes. Yes.
Right along with hydration. And that self-care piece, I still struggle. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest. Sometimes I
Yeah.
still
We we
struggle.
we we working through. We're breaking down those barriers. Yes, we are.
And that was it. It was breaking down the barriers, breaking down those learned behaviors that I had surrounding food.
Mhm.
Understanding my relationship with food has been the biggest takeaway from me in our one-on-one, is understanding my whys. Not really understanding um, what my body needed. Again, going back to that lab analogy, what was Leslie's formula? Because
Mhm.
you can't, it's not cookie cutter for everyone. Everyone's
Right.
body is different. And
Mhm.
so our one-on-one helped me to figure that out. What works well for me.
Mhm.
Some people may need the morning snack. I don't need the morning snack. And that's a lot because my schedule is different.
Yeah.
And I think that
Absolutely.
was been the most
Absolutely.
important thing too, is recognizing this is your life. How do you need to fuel your body
Mhm.
to thrive? Not
Yeah.
just survive in your life, but to really
Right. Yeah.
thrive in your
Yes.
life.
And you touched on something. So the 2 hour self care. So I believe you had shared that you used to do that because 2 hours is really okay. Because I'm about to say that's really like specific. And so I believe she shared she used to do some things and she missed it. And so I'm like, okay, a lot of times people when she has a very hectic work schedule, so it's almost like when the go button hits, it's like is this the day is gone. Like
Mhm.
so the only time she really has for herself to where is where she can actually have her mind rested and it was in the morning. And so that's why I was like, okay, let's utilize this 2 hours. You actually have it. She was already waking up early enough and she had the time, but she was reading emails and she was doing work instead of taking care of Leslie. So I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's utilize that time, exercise, meditate, do the things that you need to do for you, because once it's time for that first client, or once you need to start preparing for that first client, all bets are off. You're done
Mhm.
for the day. And so that's where that came from. And at first it was going against the grain. She felt so uncomfortable, which is very normal because you're thinking about all the things you could be doing during
Mhm.
those 2 hours. But I remembered what her goal was. She wants to live healthier. She wants to build healthier eating habits. She wants to lose the weight. This is the start. We had to start setting some boundaries. And that was one thing
Oh.
that she did not have. She did not have boundaries, and we're all guilty of it. I crossed my boundaries too. And so that was kind of that, and the sleep. The sleep is another big piece. I mean, anybody who's been following me know that sleep is like one of the cornerstones, because if your sleep is off and it's off for a long period of time, it
Mhm.
will affect your food choices. It will demotivate you to want to exercise. You will feel sluggish. You won't drink. You won't do the things that you need to do because you're just not in that right mindset because of sleep deprivation. But we
Mhm.
push through it. We push through it, but that's not doing our body any good. And so now she's in a place where I think she's a lot more comfortable with her 2 hours. How
Same.
are we doing with those 2 hours?
Um, some weeks a little bit challenging than others, but
Right,
it's the
right,
intentionality and recognizing
right,
why it's important.
right.
Um, because I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was doing that um years ago, I managed
Mhm.
my stress
Yes,
better. And when I manage my stress better, I'm not
everything
stress eating,
flows.
and
Right,
everything flows. Exactly.
right, and
So yeah, that was a struggle, because you're right. I could be doing this. I could, and the reality is this, yeah, I could be, but if I'm not doing well, physically, we're
Right.
not going to be able to do anything.
Right. And that's why the whole goal is focus on what? The matters that matter. And so
Matter.
it's like
Yes.
if you're not well, how are you gonna be all that for your clients? And I'm speaking to myself too. If I'm stress eating, not sleeping, and then I'm human, I have to
Mhm.
be intentional just like everybody else. But if that is a regular thing that's happening every now, over and over and over and over again, it will affect,
Mhm.
it will affect. And so we have to really be mindful of that. And so I wanted to ask you then, let's talk about the emotional eating, and those struggles, and how has that changed?
I realized, and I remember, I recall the session I had with you, that it was just kind of like this aha, and it was a really emotional session where I realized that my relationship with food was centered around um, not being disappointed. Emotionally, um, what chocolate chip cookie gonna disappoint you? I don't care if it's burnt on the edges, it's not gonna disappoint. It's gonna comfort you on some level. And so for me, food always brought me satisfaction. Now, it wasn't always the healthiest food too that brought me satisfaction. So even in the mind shift now, um, food brings me satisfaction, but I'm making healthier choices. Carrots and hummus brings me satisfaction. It doesn't have to be, that the heavy carbs. It's recognizing, okay, what is the emotion that is attached to why you want to eat this whole bag of chips? Okay, you need to, and again, as a therapist, that was so important for me to make that connection for myself. Like, okay, I'm gonna need you to deal with this emotion and not deflect it onto this whole bag of chips.
Mm-hmm.
If you are emotional, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, you know what? Lace those shoes up. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a slow, mindful walk.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the nature. Just breathe,
Yeah.
instead of eating through my
Yeah.
emotions.
And what's so funny, what you're saying is here I am, a dietitian, trying to talk about mindfulness to somebody who's trained in mindfulness more than me. So it's amazing how you need somebody on the outside. You need an accountability partner no matter
Mhm.
what you do,
Mhm.
because we can give you all the advice in the world, but sometimes we need advice too.
We're human. We're
We're,
we're human,
we're
and
human.
we struggle just as well.
And I think that's why we bounce well, because it's like, even though I'm telling you this, your reactions are ministering to me too. So it's almost like, so it's amazing how that works, because we think you think people think I got it all together. I'm sure people think you got it all together, right? Like,
Mhm.
she doesn't stress, she knows how to do, but we got to go through the same things that everybody else does. I mean, yeah, we're supposed to know better, but we're still human.
And I think that is what makes it more impactful for us, especially, you notice, being in a helping profession, um, understanding the importance and turning it inward. So, as much as I talked about, being compassionate, and I think this is a huge part of being compassionate to myself, is saying, okay, you can say to someone, yeah, you need that health style, that body, mind, spirit. You need to take care of your body. Like, okay, girl, what you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you
Right. Right.
did you just hear yourself?
Right. When you gonna do what you said, I say
Exactly.
that to myself too. Like, you saying this, Sandra, but you're really not doing this right now.
Exactly. So, I love what you said, because my clients do keep me accountable as well, as it relates to my own
Exactly. Exactly.
self-care.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I say all that to say that, health professionals, whatever the profession is, we human too, and we need help too. We
Mm-hmm.
got to stay accountable. We got to be intentional. It's not easy. It's not any easier for us. I mean, we just, like I said, we just got some
Exactly.
more knowledge, we got some more experience, but we still got to walk the walk at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We get to
Mm-hmm.
walk the walk.
Exactly.
And so let's fast forward to September 2021. And again, if people have comments, questions, you relate, anything, please post, please post. We connected back in September 2021, and that was during one of my challenges, post summer detox challenge. And you participated, and she was one of my top engagers. I thank you for that. She posted, I mean, she was on it. And what was the trigger to register for that?
Turning 50. Because I
Ah,
turned 50 September 2021. And I said, I want this year, this decade to be different. Because I knew it was more than just the action of weight loss, of doing the stuff. Yes, because the recipes were amazing. The support was amazing. But I realized that it had to be more than just me doing the challenge. And I realized it had to be a mindset change, a mindset shift.
Okay.
They say insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Well, that's how kind of my weight loss journey has been, doing, the same thing, expecting a different result. And so I said, okay, something has to change. And I realized that's when I needed the additional support.
Okay. And so when you were going through that 3 days, like, what were some big aha moments for you? And what was some of your successes in those 3 days?
Being consistent. I think the structure of having a plan, I'm like, okay, that kind of works for me. Because if I don't really have to think much about it, I can just go ahead and make it happen. If I got to think too much about it, it's like, you know what, forget it. Give me the bag of chips, and that has been the mindset. So also too, energy wise, I was like, wow, these recipes are not too bad. I was shopping in aisles that I typically didn't go to often to find things that I normally wouldn't have in my pantry. And it made me really start to look at, like, what is in my pantry? Okay. And then, like I said, just the support, just the engagement of the group was amazing.
Good. And I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that I really like to do with the challenges, because I like to introduce foods that I know people normally wouldn't think about, pairing things they normally wouldn't think about. I mean, I see recipes and I'm like, oh, wow. And I never thought about pairing those two together. And then when there's so much out there about restricting carbs, restricting this, restricting that, and people are seeing these things, they're seeing cookies and they're seeing, but I call them sweets with a purpose. They're made in a way to where it's healthy and it has healthy ingredients, but yet it is still tasteful. And so I was glad. So I'm glad that you're open, because really it's about being open. Because I hear, a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know about this one, but then they tried it, like, oh yes, it was good. So that is really what it's about. And so you felt energy. You got energized after those 3 days, or what? When you started at the beginning of the challenge, like, what was different at the end that you probably didn't even think would change for you in just 3 days?
Something that you said, and it still sticks with me. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
That's right.
And I think that was the shift for me, because for me, that was my mindset. Oh, snap. I missed the day of tracking. Oh, let me just go ahead and chuck it. And recognizing that, okay, I'm putting too much pressure on myself in this. Give yourself grace. This is a paradigm shift, which means there's unlearning behaviors that I had to address. So I think that was the huge takeaway for me, was it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right. Good.
It's a learning process.
Yep. And you fall forward. I say you're going to have slips. You're supposed to have slips. You're going to, quote unquote, overeat one day or undereat one day, or do something that's, off the plan, or, if you want to call it that, that's supposed to happen, because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And I don't beat you up about that. I'm like, okay, well, what do you think triggered it? What happened? And then we know what to do next time. We know how to plan for the next time, because guess what? There is a next time. It was just going to be a different situation. And so after the 3 days, you moved on to Body Reboot. Okay.
Yes.
And that was the group program. And so that was designed to introduce that balanced eating in the form that encouraged variety and flavor. But then it also took self-care awareness to another level. Like that is one of the primary arms of Body Reboot. So we actually had sleep exercises to, okay, what do we need to do to get more sleep? You know, how do we gain control over these food cravings? How do we make time for the things we enjoy doing? We have that little fun activity, find something fun to do that night
Yes.
with your family. You know, so what inspires you to continue and join the group?
Self-care, because continue to struggle with that. But really, again, I recognize formula is that accountability. When I have that support and other people like, oh my God, you struggle with that too. Let me tell you about what happened last week and blah, blah, blah. The kind of having that camaraderie, recognizing and instinctively and consciously, you know that you're not the only one who deals with this.
We don't talk about it.
But it doesn't feel like that.
Right. Don't talk about it, right? Exactly.
We don't talk about it. And releasing the shame and guilt from that because we don't talk about it. And listening to how other people like, oh, you know what? Oh, that worked. Let me see if that works for me. Just kind of like that, having that sounding board.
Yeah.
You know, we had one in the group I belong to. I mean, her meal prep game was fierce. And I was like,
yeah, I remember.
I said, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Because you know what? I realized she said it, that was part of her self-care. Yeah. And I was like, you know what?
Yes. But we don't think about that.
I like how you framed that.
Yes. It's self-care, not torture, not
exactly.
You know, when I hear comments like, I don't have time to meal prep, I don't have time to cook, I don't have time. You know, this might be the gentle bully that you talked about, but that just means you're too busy. You know, that means you have too much going on. That means you are overwhelmed, you're overextended, and you have to carve out that time. Now, do you have to do it every day? No. Now, the lady she's speaking of specifically, she did it like for 7 days, and
on a Sunday.
She had it like that's like somebody who's got it down. So that's advanced. So I don't.
Yes, I was like, if I can get to 3 days, that's huge.
Good. But what she's speaking of with the group is intimate, and so it's a group of us. We're in a private, Zoom session, and we share and we open it, and it's an opportunity to be vulnerable and to let it out, and it's safe, and it's a safe environment, and people just don't realize, oh wow, I struggle with that too, or oh wow, that can help me. She overcame that. That means I can. So it's motivating. It's motivating as well. And so thank you for bringing that up. And what was your biggest takeaways from Body Reboot? Like, what was the biggest, I guess, success that you got out of that?
That sleep was
and that was
really
week
important.
That was week 1, 5-week program, but that was week 1 because it took that and more.
Yes. Understanding, and you said it often, focus on the matters that matter. Boundaries. And again, that's speaking my language to the therapist. I was like, that's right. But Leslie was like, oh God.
How are we gonna make this do? How are we gonna do this?
Leslie, the therapist, was like, she's right. That's right. Leslie, the woman, is like,
You weren't the only
one.
What
do I need to take off my plate?
They were like,
take off my plate.
Get 7 hours of sleep. There's no way. Yes, there's a way.
And so what I started doing was, as much as I don't know, I bought the Fitbit, but have been, like, I don't know if I want to go. That Fitbit has been instrumental because it does help me track my sleep.
Okay, good. Yes.
It helps track, how long I was up, my light sleep, my REM sleep, my deep sleep. And to me, it got to be a challenge. Okay, I want to move from, I'm always stuck in fair. I want good sleep. I don't eat. So for me to see those numbers.
Yes. And I was like, okay, so seen those numbers before, and it was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna get through it. But the success was you're intentional. Now you're thinking about it. Now you like, what can I do? Which is huge. And when you start shifting your mind to that, now you're gonna start making things happen, because now it's mattering to you in a different way, which that is huge in itself. That's so cool.
Yes.
You.
Yeah. And another what I call my Sandra-isms that you shared too was moving from maintenance mindset to loss mindset. And I was like, wait a minute. And I hadn't even thought about it from that perspective because I was like, oh, casually skipping, like, oh, okay, I'm doing. But it's true. There is a different way of approaching maintenance versus, okay, I need to release this weight and I need to do things a little at a different level than I would if I wanted just to maintain.
Yeah. So let me explain what she's talking about. So, so there's, we have a period. We lose weight. Sometimes we kind of maintain for a while, and then we'll lose. So it just kind of depends on what's going on. And so Leslie had got to a point where she was maintaining. So success. We're not gaining anymore. We're maintaining. And I was like, well, okay, Leslie, that's great. You're not gaining, but what we're doing enough for it to maintain your weight. But in order to lose the weight, we gotta tighten up on some tracking. We gotta tighten up on what we're eating and where we're eating and how often we're eating out. And that's what she means by the difference between what we got to do for maintenance and what we got to do for actually loss are two different things. And I think I pointed out, I think I probably said, we're not gaining, that's great, but you didn't come to me to maintain.
Exactly.
You came to me because you want to lose.
Yes. And that was like, wow. And again, it forced me to look at my behaviors. And again, it's just, it was that connecting the dots for me. Okay. That's okay. So I need to shift my behavior to do something different because I want a different result. I was glad. I'm like, oh, I'm still in the same size clothes. I don't have to buy a new wardrobe. Then I was like, wait a minute. This, yeah.
But that's growth. But what I want you to know is that's growth, because at first you was happy. You weren't losing. I mean, you weren't gaining. You was happy. And now that's when you're ready. That's why you can't force this. It's a lifestyle and it needs to happen organically. And so when you started questioning and all of that, and you was like, okay, I don't want to just maintain anymore. Now that means you're ready to go to that next level. Now you're shifting and making room for that process to happen versus me just saying, well, Leslie, you got to do this and you got to do that. I can say that all day, but if you're not ready, and so you were ready. And so that's another kudo to you, because that's when we know, okay, we're ready to go to the next step versus we just doing it just because, and then you're miserable, you feel like you're on a diet, you're not happy, and and then it backfires. And that's what we don't want is for things to backfire. And so let's talk about we've been one-on-one. So now we've been one-on-one since October, and during that time, what this shows is, because you see her progression. She said she's been doing this since she was 10 years. You've been trying to lose weight, and then you decided that, okay, now I need to do something different. You said the insanity. So you had to make a change. You started with the challenge, you did the group, we did one-on-one. So you're showing that it is a journey. It's not a journey. And you didn't get to this place overnight. And so it's a journey, but everybody's journey is different. Your journey is different from everybody else's journey. And so what advice would you give to somebody who is trying to do this thing on their own? Because we all, even I have been there, with trying to get my own blood pressure, my own weight under control. And I didn't succeed. I had to get help. So what's your advice for people who are still trying to figure this thing out?
Ooh, I often ask this question to my clients. I'm like, how's that working out for you?
Yes. Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil line.
How is that working out for you? Yeah. And oftentimes it's because it's a very reflective question. Because it really, hopefully it will help you to sit there and say, well, you know what? It's not working out as well as I would like. Well, what would help you get to that next level? And 10 times out of 10, it's having support. It's having somebody to point out things that oftentimes we don't know or we can't see.
Yes.
And this journey has really been about pulling back. It's more than just, again, like I said earlier, weight loss. It's really a lifestyle change and understanding what factors are necessary for me to thrive. So I encourage anyone, and advice I would give is to ask yourself that question. Is this doing this on my own? Is it working out for me as well as I would like for it to? If it's not, then what would you need to have to change that? What would be necessary for you to get to that level that you're trying to get to?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I identify, like I said, the struggles and the triggers, and identifying that, and then you'll have your honest answer.
Yeah.
And really be honest with yourself.
Good.
Not in a critical way,
Right.
in a very loving way and very compassionate way. Recognizing that a lot of what we do is learned, even our eating
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and our relationships with food, because you and I
Absolutely.
talked about culture. And food,
Definitely.
that was that session was on fire. That
Yes.
was
Yes.
the things that we learned from a cultural perspective as it relates to our
Exactly.
relationship with food, and realize it is an unlearning, and it
Mm-hmm.
is a journey. You, like you
Yeah.
said, we didn't get here overnight.
We did not. And we're not going to get out of it in 30 days. You know,
Nope.
that 30, lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Don't fall for it.
Because it comes back with friends. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. So you touched on a lot of things, and you know, how's that working out for you? I know I've made comments where, you know, give it a try. 6 months, you're not where you feel you should. That's when you know you need to get some support, because you touched on this too. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I experienced when I was trying to lose weight myself. I tried for 3 years, had no success, got a dietitian. In 3 months, I lost 20 pounds because there were dots that I weren't able to connect. I knew some things
Mm-hmm.
here and I knew some things there, but I didn't have the whole picture, you know, and it's not, and sometimes we feel like I should be able to do this. What's so
Mm-hmm.
hard about it? But, you know, it's more to it than just eating, you know, it's more to it
Mm-hmm.
than that. So you touched on a lot of that. So that was really, really good. And let's share some of your big wins. Like, let's talk about blood pressure. How's your blood pressure changed?
Well, so my blood pressure has all of a sudden decided it wanted to do some interesting things. So I am checking my blood pressure now every day, and
Good.
it's coming down.
Good.
And I recognize that when I am eating the way I need to eat and
Mhm.
moving the way I need to move, my blood pressure is where I need it to be. So
Mhm.
again, finding out those factors, those
Good.
wellness factors are really important.
And that's good that you're in tune with your body now, because before you didn't make that connection. So you didn't know. So now you know. And I'm the same way. It's if I'm overdoing it, or if my weight, you know, those starts to creep up a little bit, I see it in my blood pressure. You know, I'm like, okay, gotta reel it back in. So your body, use those body cues as their survival mechanisms. You know, if everybody's telling you you're hungry, don't put it off because you feel like you're trying to lose weight, or that's not how you lose weight. If your body's telling you you're tired, don't push through that for another week. Your body needs to rest. You know, those are your body's survival mechanism, and it's good that it's telling us that. A lot of times we think it's not a good thing, but it's a good thing. Exercise. Has your exercise and endurance changed?
Well, it's getting much better because the gentle bully has said 15-minute walk, which is right where I supposed to be anyway. But it was those things I needed to hear. I say that lovingly when I say that, but it's those things that I needed to hear. Because you can often get in your head and you'll stay, I'm out walking, but you're really strolling. You need to get that heart rate up and moving. And so I am being challenged to get out of my head to get back to where I used to be. Good. And that's the thing, because I was there at one point.
Yes.
Close to it. But now it's like, okay, challenge yourself.
Yes.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe in yourself. And
yes.
Accountability partner. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
And what about the lupus? How is that? I know when we started, it was a remission, but I'm not sure if you were feeling.
It's still, the numbers are still where they need to be.
Good.
The knee, the joint pain, I think a lot of that is definitely more weight related than lupus. And again, it's about listening to your body. So my knees are like, honey, I know you love your curves, but we need to go ahead.
You lighten up on me a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's
So,
good. And then, and I know with exercise, you was concerned about asthma.
yes.
And so how are we feeling in that department? I know one thing I had mentioned is carry your pump. You know, I want you, even though you haven't had asthma attack in a long time, but that fear, and that's real. I understand that's a scary feeling.
Mhm.
So I was like, carry it with you. And, you know, but again, we want to help your body too. So, but
Yes.
yeah. So until we have a reason, you know, I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I
no,
think you're good.
I push myself. And I, again,
Yeah.
back to listen to your body, and your
Yeah.
body will let you know. Your body will let you know,
Exactly.
like, okay, you may need to
Exactly.
slow it down a little bit. But
Yes. That's
then
good.
also to, just push, not push to the point of hurting yourself, but get out of your head about it.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
out of
yeah.
your
The
head
inner
about it.
critic. That's what I was gonna say. We have that
Yes.
inner critic that kind of, girl, you know, you can't do that. What are you trying to
Yeah,
do? You know, we
no,
gotta
no, no, you
squash
can't.
that. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's getting better. That is getting
Good,
much
good,
better.
good. And again, if anybody has any comments, questions, please post in the chat, and we will address it, answer it, or I will ask Leslie if I am not able to answer it. And so,
Mhm.
wrapping things up, what are the top 3 things that we did together that you found most helpful?
Oh my gosh. Connecting the dots as it relates to the learned behavior with the emotional eating. Um, Definitely getting myself back to those things that work well for me.
Yeah.
And increasing my knowledge around nutrition, because honestly, I took a nutrition class in college, but that was eons ago.
Yeah.
Really understanding what works best to fuel my body.
Mhm.
And I think that has been really important for me.
Good, good. That's awesome. And I thank you for trusting me. I thank you for allowing me to walk on this journey with you. So, and again, it's day by day, your pace is not a right, it's not a wrong, it's not an all, it's not a nothing, it's not perfection. It's you kept
Yes.
moving. And Leslie has kept moving through a lot. She was in California for 2 weeks, you know, dealing
Yes.
with a very delicate family matter, and she still was mindful. And that's when things kick in. I wasn't telling, I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you to do all this stuff, but intuitively things kicked in. And so that's how you know
Yes.
it's becoming a lifestyle, because no matter what's going on, no, you're not going to be 100%. You may not even be 70%, but you're doing something versus back in the day, including myself, you know, oh, okay, I'll just eat out. Oh, okay, I'll
Mhm.
work out in a couple of weeks when I get back to Florida, you know, and you didn't do that, you know, so kudos, kudos, kudos. And I think you maintained, which that situation is what you want to do,
Yes.
because you're not in
Yes.
control. You're not in control. So you did amazing. So kudos, kudos, kudos. And so
Well,
that's
thank you.
testament of how things are becoming real for you. Like you're
Yes.
finding your way in this. And so that's wonderful. And so any words of wisdom that you have for those who are out there who are in the same position that you were once in, like struggling with self-care, the yo-yo dieting, emotional, the eating, just not knowing what to eat. You know, what advice
Mm.
or what words of wisdom would you give to them?
Invest in yourself.
Mm.
Invest in yourself. Um, because when you do, when you take care of you, you bring your best self to every situation, everything that you do. So invest in yourself, honor yourself, um, and recognize that you're not by yourself in this. And some days are not going to be okay, and that's okay too. But continuously invest and honor yourself. That's probably the best thing I could say.
Yes, because I think we had that, our bodies are temple. We're supposed to take
Yes.
care of. I think we had that conversation recently.
Yes.
So yes, it's our bodies are temple. We only have one.
Yep.
So we need to take care of it.
You take care of it.
Yes. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for sharing your
No,
story, your
thank you
journey.
for having me.
Yes, thank you. Being transparent. I know that you are changing mindsets, you're changing lives, you're having people think about, you know, if there's nothing that comes out of this, at least it has people thinking about where they are. This is really working for me. You know, that
Hmm.
is huge because, like I said, we only got one shot at this life, you know, and I want to help you add years to your life, you know, just especially,
Exactly.
you know, us as a people. You know, yes, we have a history of diabetes, we have a history of blood pressure, we have a history of all these things, you know, as well as other cultures. But we don't have to go down that path. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
take our lives. It doesn't have to take away years. For many of us, we don't even have to have the diagnosis, so we just take action, take action. And thank you to my listeners for tuning in with this special edition of Up Close and Personal with our special guest, Leslie Pender, my Sora, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been such a great conversation.
Yes, yes. And I hope that you all found this segment very inspiring and motivating and real, because that's what it's all about. It's about ironing, sharpening iron. It's all about us helping each other and realizing that we are not alone. We do not have to suffer. It's not normal. We can get help, and we don't have to just accept where we are. So it's just have that mindset that you can and you will, and things will be a lot easier. So get control of your health. We want to break those dieting, weight loss cycles, the yo-yo cycles. We want to build a healthy relationship with food, including the carbs. We want to get control over those cravings. And we want to, at the end of the day, we want to build life skills and habits that last for life and that are realistic and that work for you. Okay. So feel free to share this with your friends, your family. There's anyone that you feel would benefit. Okay. And I thank you all for tuning in, and see you next week, same handle, same time, and bye for now, and have a great rest of your day, and blessings and healthy recovery.